Can I get an amen?
4.3 to go. Thompson on Brown into the lane. Got the shot off.
I love everything about this. The week the Houston Rockets just had. Are we ready to call Houston a legit contender in the NBA? Let's go around that horn. Full name, Amaze Excellence Thompson, but you know him as Amen Thompson, and he is breaking out this month. Best win of the year after the best win of the year after the best win of the year for the Rockets. They're surging. So to beat Boston, after already having beaten Cleveland twice this last week and rising to this 2 seed in the West, I ask you, David Dennis Jr., are the Rockets legit contenders right now?
The Houston Rockets are the second best team in the West. So, yes, they are legitimate contenders. I would not be surprised if we see them in the Western Conference Finals, giving the OKC Thunder all the hell that they can handle right now. And a lot of that is because Amen Thompson. This is officially an Amen Thompson stan account right here, because since this dude joined that starting lineup, he has made a huge difference. He has shut down Donovan Mitchell. He gave Jason Tatum fits defensively, and the Rockets said, we're going to double Jalen Green, we're going to put bigs on Şengün, and we're going to dare somebody else to beat us. Dylan Brooks had 10 threes, which may never happen again, but it was really Amen who had the 30-plus points in the game winner. This dude has changed the trajectory of this team from a good story to a legitimate contender this season and beyond.
Tim Kalishaw, are you willing to go there? Are the Rockets legit contenders now?
And give David Dennis another point. Everything he said was correct.
Okay.
That's where I'm going. But for all he said about Amen Thompson, as great as he is, wasn't the leading scorer in any of these 3 games. They had Van Vliet leading in one game, Brooks and Şengün in another. This is a team with a lot of weapons, a lot of size. You wondered in this 3-game stretch against the 2 best teams in the East, would they win 1? Could they maybe win 2? They swept it. They showed what they're all about. And also, as David kind of said, Oklahoma City and Houston are the 2 best teams. They have no playoff history with these teams. Oklahoma City won a series last year. So we don't know who's going to be ready to play all the way till June. But Houston causes a lot of problems for people.
Maybe you don't know, Tim. Maybe someone else on this panel knows. I don't know. Clinton Yates, around the horn to you.
Not only do I like the results that they're getting, but I like the way that this team is constructed, and beyond that, the brand of basketball they play. I'd like to give Ime Udoka some credit on this in terms of how that team has been put together and how they manage themselves. They lead the league in field goal attempts. They also lead the league in rebounds and offensive rebounds. Aggressive basketball is what I enjoy. And if you're looking around the West and you see teams like the Lakers who need the magical moment from AD to skate by, I don't know, the Hornets, there's no reason why I can't believe that the Rockets can put it together to make a playoff run. This is absolutely a contender, and I love the job they've done.
And Kevin Clark, around the horn to you. Will you go so far as to say the Rockets are contenders?
Yeah, Clinton, there's a big difference between being a legit contender and being better than the Lakers. Yes, they're better than the Lakers. Thank you for pointing that out. But I think there's a lot to go here. I think that I'd go maybe 7 out of 10 believes, 7 out of 10 Deons right now. I think right now, just you look at the evidence, by winning percentage, they're on the best 3-game winning streak in the history of the NBA when you look at their opponents. They lead the NBA in wins over teams with 30 or more wins. That is really, really good. At some point, the evidence piles up, and I can't doubt them. But I do think there are teams like the Nuggets, teams like the Thunder, that I'd still consider a cut above. But I just, since Thompson became a starter, the best offensive team in basketball, lead the NBA in steals. There's something here for sure, but I'm not ready to put them on the upper echelon.
David Dennis Jr. back in.
They want to push back on the idea that they don't have playoff experience. Udoka has coached the team to the finals. Fred VanVleet is a champion. Dylan Brooks has made multiple deep playoff runs. They have veteran presence on that team.
Tim Kalishaw, last word for you.
Yeah, I was going to say the Udoka matchup with Missoula was interesting last night, and he does have, I think his experience with Boston even is helping this team.
Clinton, I'm going to give you an extra point because I like the way you said it. The way this team
That's why I brought him up to begin with.
The way this team
That's how
has
you
been
play the games.
constructed, all right? Your scientists we're so preoccupied with building super teams and big threes and all that. And what have we seen in the NBA emerging most recently? OKC's an example, Cleveland's an example, and Houston absolutely an example. Deep teams that can give you 4, 5, 6, 7 scoring threats or full players. I love that. I love everything about that. We'll move on now to the NFL. Let's roll tape on a busy day. Coach Intro Day.
Duval. So I've seen it when I was a pup. We're going to win. And we're going to win a championship.
I know that we have a good draw for people from out of town. Hey, there you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
To any players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride.
All right, Kevin Clark, number one takeaway from Coach Intro Day. Whose fans should be most excited?
I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing at the Jerry Jones thing. No one had any idea what he was talking about. He talked and talked and talked, and at no point did he make a coherent point, and he runs the most valuable franchise in the world. Having said that, I'm going with Liam Cohen. I am never again reading into press conferences to determine how a tenure is going to go. Remember, everybody laughed at Dan Campbell a couple years ago when he's talking about biting kneecaps and all that stuff. He was talking to his players. He was talking to his fan base. I don't read too much into this stuff. Jonathan Gannon a couple years ago had a really kind of a rough start, looked a little bit awkward, looked a little bit like Michael Scott. That's okay. Just draw up the plays, maximize Trevor Lawrence. I'm okay with Liam Cohen being weird. If I got to go best hire, it's going to be Pete Carroll. I've talked about that for the last week. But Liam Cohen, give me all the stock you got. It's okay to be bad in the press conference.
David Dennis Jr.?
If Liam Cohen can improve his Duval from the beginning of that clip to the way it improved to the end of that clip, if he can do that with Trevor Lawrence, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are in good shape. But this is always about Jerry Jones. It feels kind of like when somebody wants to have a wedding more than they actually want to get married. Jerry Jones feels like he wanted to have the coach press conference more than he cared about hiring the right coach. This was all about him having airtime in front of a microphone, making no sense, and really showing why this franchise is in the position it's in, because Jerry Jones wants to be the star even though he has no clue what he's talking about on a given day.
Okay, so well, maybe he was making sense. Maybe that falls on the lap of the reporters who were there. Tim, you were there in Dallas with Jerry Jones. You could start with Dallas and the hiring of Schottenheimer.
Well, it's all our fault. Well, let me start with this. Pete Carroll, quick shout out to the Raiders. I do think which team should be excited. That's a tough situation, 3 playoff teams. But I think Carroll will get them to respectability. Now, to the only press conference that came with an intermission. That would be the Cowboys, because the first part lasted an hour and 5 minutes, and then they broke up into smaller groups where Jerry and Steven talked
breakout rooms,
until they had drained the life out of all the reporters there. The Cowboys are going to try to win by osmosis. They made that clear yesterday. They've decided the reason they can't beat the Rams and the 49ers is those teams are coached by guys whose dad was famous doing something in the NFL. So that's essentially why they said Brian Schottenheimer is their new coach. And they're going to try that route now.
You don't seem convinced by this route there, Tim.
We're going to win a championship.
Well, I mean, do you put stock in winning the press conference, losing the press conference, or anything?
I thought Brian Schottenheimer was fine. And I don't know about the hire, but I thought he came across fine. But the Jerry show, when I asked him about the whole, this is your 7th hire as a GM since you last went to the NFC Championship game, no other GM gets to do that. All he talked about was he dreams every day of being in a championship game. I don't think that does much for Cowboys.
That was a good question. I appreciate that. Clinton Yates, around the horn to you on whose fan base should be most excited after everything we saw this week.
I think Glenn did a good job of staying businesslike in a scenario that's been very chaotic, but let us not, miss the elephant in the room. That wasn't just some jabroni yelling Raiders in that press conference. That was Marshawn Lynch. If you're a Raiders fan, that is who you want to be excited about this. I'm sorry. That is a big deal for me for a team that has so much to gain with nothing having been done over the past 5 years. And Pete Carroll seems lucid as anybody, even at that age, coming into that presser. That was fantastic.
Marshawn Lynch is now working with the Raiders, and that's his old coach.
That's what I'm saying. If he's excited, I'm excited, Tony.
That Marshawn wasn't excited. That Marshawn was Marshawn. That's what I'm saying, Clinton. It's David Dennis Jr., last word here.
I got to ask Tim, were there any follow-up questions when Stephen Jones put quotation marks under drought when he was talking about the Cowboys having a quote drought? Because there needs to be no quotation marks around drought.
Go ahead, Tim.
I asked him afterwards why he did the whole drought we're in, people say we're in, and he brought up that they're, at the last 15 years, have the 6th winningest regular season record, which, by the way, they're 9th. They're not 6th for anybody counting regular season records.
Right.
So that's what that was about, the drought.
Duval County. I mean, the PR for Duval County is like all-time high. I don't know if I can name 3 other counties NFL teams are in, but somehow the Jaguars have really made. Taking a break right here. Buy or sell next.
Welcome back to Around the Horn, coming to you from the Seaport. Brought to you by Patron. Perfection starts with Patron.
The latest on Jimmy Butler and the Heat. It appears not going so well. Another suspension. That's 3 team suspensions of player here. Butler leaving practice early yesterday. Boom, suspended. This has been going on for months of all of our lives, David. Is there any end in sight?
The good news is that it seems like we're getting close. I've been saying this for weeks and I've been wrong about that. It seems like we're getting close because the Heat have lowered their asking price for Jimmy Butler. But if there's one thing they're going to do, they're going to stretch this to the limit, because as much as we talk about practice and nutrition and all that, this too is Heat culture. Ask Alonzo Mourning, ask Dwayne Wade, ask LeBron, and now ask Jimmy Butler, who was just asked to sit on the bench for a dude who's averaging 5 points a game on the season. This is what the Heat do. They have these issues with their star players. As much as they want to talk about, that's Heat culture. This is Heat culture too.
This is what the Heat do. Is this also what Jimmy Butler does? Kevin Clark, Around the Horn to you.
The scouting report on Jimmy Butler is it always ends badly, and the league's tolerance for it ends badly seems to wane when a player reaches their mid-30s. That's just how it goes. Jimmy Butler's last 5 games that he's actually played in have been the worst of his career since November 2013. So yes, the asking price will have to drop dramatically for this to happen, but I do think it happens. I just think that I've gone through too many Jimmy Butler dramas in my life, and I've kind of tuned out.
Glenn Yates.
Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler have become the couple that fight every time they go out with friends, and everybody says, can you please just break up already? You are ruining all of the hangouts. That's where we are with this. Somebody needs to move on. He's not even the captain of the team. This seems like a lot to be going through for a squad that does have talent.
Tim Kalishaw.
I think you look at the game Miami played last night, coming back to win in double overtime against Orlando, the game Khalid Ware had. They can afford to take very little at this point for Jimmy Butler, just to move on from the money and the drama, and I think they'll get it done.
Buy or sell two. WNBA shakeup continues in a week with free agency looming. Here we go. Today, another trade. Perennial MVP candidate Alyssa Thomas traded from the Connecticut Sun to the Phoenix Mercury. Over the weekend, a plum jewel of a blockbuster. Jewel Lloyd to the Aces. Kelsey Plum to the Sparks. Number 2 pick to the Seattle Storm. Enormous deals, Kevin. What do you buy? What do you sell from these moves?
I'm buying the Sparks and Kelsey Plum. After this trade, The Ringer quoted the great Bill Plaschke, who in September wrote a column saying, quote, "The Sparks stink and people have stopped paying attention." Well, guess what? People are paying attention now. That column actually quoted Magic Johnson, saying they basically need to do more to win over their fans. Kelsey Plum, one of the best scorers of her generation, reinvigorates that franchise. That should be a crown jewel. Kelsey Plum takes a step towards that.
Okay, but I'll give Bill Plaschke the points next time he's on then. Clinton Yates, Around the Horn to you.
Yeah, and I'll say the same thing as a Los Angeles resident who likes watching WNBA basketball. Kelsey Plum has reinvigorated a ton, not to mention that Cameron Brink is coming back. This is huge for this franchise from a marketing standpoint. Never mind the basketball. Well, Kelsey Plum's been my favorite player in the league ever since she came out of Washington.
Okay.
I am excited on a personal level, quite frankly.
That's 2 for LA. I thought Jewel Lloyd going to Vegas and her prolific scoring, to borrow your phrase, I guess, Kevin Clark would be the story. Tim Kalishaw to you.
Yeah, I'm scouring these moves, looking for the Dallas Wings involvement, not seeing it right away, although they do have the first pick. Paige Beckers, come on down whenever it's time. I hate to make it 3 for 3. Kelsey Plum led the NCAA in scoring in college. She didn't really have to do that where she was. Now I think she has a better opportunity to show all her offense.
All right, Jewel Lloyd led the WMEA in scoring, and now she's going to a team that has a championship. David Dennis Jr., around the horn to you.
Yeah, I love Kelsey Plum as much as everybody else here, but Jewel Lloyd is actually an added piece to a team that is trying to get back to win a championship. Like, the Aces are still a really good team, and they've just tooled up with some scoring. But allow me to also provide a requiem here for the Connecticut Sun. That 2022 championship team, none of their starters are there anymore. They're rebuilding, and they have to give up their next pick next year to Chicago. So there's going to be a long road.
They're
to get back to
rebuilding.
that
Alyssa
Connecticut
Thomas
squad.
gave them absolutely everything. She goes to Phoenix now. Oh, look who's a free agent. DeWanna Bonner. Oh, maybe she'll go back to Phoenix too and get the married couple still together. We'll move on. Buy or sell 3.
El líder en juego salvado de todos los tiempos. Duro por el center field. No, no, no. I can't believe it.
Unbelievable call. Junior Caminero, the 9th inning home run that proved to be the championship winner, this thrilling Dominican League championship. Escogido gets the title. Who's their manager? A little player I like to call Albert Pujols. This was huge. Clinton, buy or sell that swing. The reaction, these 49 seconds of home run trot, or that call.
Buying every single second of this. First of all, the call was bilingual, which we love to see. Second of all, this shot was Ohtanian. And third of all, I mean, this game was out of control in general. Juan Soto was on the other bench, a $700 million guy wearing a jersey, cheering on walks. And most importantly, this happened T9. It could have been upstaged later in the game, didn't care. Took all that time anyway because it was the go-ahead, and it didn't even end the matchup. This is what we love about Winter League baseball.
But make a ruling on a 49-second home run trot.
I had time, and so did you.
Tim Kalishaw, how about you? That was well said.
I loved all of it too, but I loved it in its place. I don't want to see Jake Burker hitting a game-winning homer for the Rangers and the all-time Ranger roster coming out of the dugout. How many players came out of the dugout over there? It looked like a college football team. It was a bit much, but it was worth it.
It was worth it. David Dennis Jr., how about you?
Yeah, if you are in the Dominican Republic and you are not on this team, please raise your hand. There were like 45 dudes coming out the dugout. Is he batting 32nd in the lineup? I don't understand what those players are there for, but I'm all for the celebration. Enjoy it. I mean, all home runs have celebrations. Maybe not like that, but I'm all for it.
Yeah, Tim, you mentioned college football. It reminded me of the stories about Nebraska when they used to just dress hundreds of walk-ons. You'd look over the sideline, what the hell is that? No, I mean, to me, I think this is a model for MLB. Not all of it, but the idea of after a big home run, all the guys greeting from home plate to first base, that was special to me. I think we had innovation today.
Players,
I think you get,
I don't know.
I like it from home to first and then again from third to home. Let's do this. Big home runs greeted twice.
Clinton Yates, Kevin Clark, thank you for your time today. Tim Kalishaw, David Dennis Jr., that's our showdown next. That's how you force an overtime. Caleb Love hit the half-court shot to force OT, then finished the deal in overtime. Arizona stuns number 3 Iowa State. Love said it was the best moment of his life. Tim, grade the best moment of Caleb Love's life.
Well, it's got to be an A, which he wasn't standing on, but he did land on it. It was about a 55-foot shot. But how is that the best moment? He had 28 in the Final Four for North Carolina, ending Coach K's career. That wasn't better?
You're questioning, you think you know his life better than he knows his life. Very interesting.
I feel like I do. I kind of do.
David Dennis.
This is an A++. They're talking about ice in your veins. The dude was 1 for 10 from 3 before nailing a half-court shot and then made the other 2 threes he took in overtime to dominate. This dude turned that game around just by being a
Although I don't know if you get ice in your veins for throwing up a half-court shot with no time left on the clock, down 3.
But following up by going 2 for 2 in overtime. Come on.
Tim Kalishaw, FaceTime.
As somebody who may have written more than once that it was time for Mike McCarthy to go, I wanted him to at least go out the right way, not the way he did yesterday. Jerry Jones, the first thing he brought up about Brian Schottenheimer was his deference. He'd seen him show deference. He'd seen him bite his lip bite his tongue when he was around Mike McCarthy. Let's make it just sound like Mike McCarthy was just the clown who was here, and now everything's okay because Schottenheimer gets to fix it. That's a ridiculous sentiment to give towards Mike McCarthy, who did at least get to the playoffs 3 years in a row.
A ridiculous sentiment is how we end this show. All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Tim Cowlis Show. A moment now for family. We dedicate today's show to the wonderful life and lasting memory of Clementine Marshall, our show's grandmother, and Justin Tinsley's Mama Clemmy. To know Justin is to know Mama Clemmy. You've heard him talk about it in many answers and FaceTimes, but that's just part of the story. Justin and Mama Clemmy, a dynasty that won every school science fair 13 years running. The Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan of the Chesterfield County, Virginia School Board. The bond these two shared over late-night NBA watching and hot takes on Jerry Jones. Mama Clemmy was Justin's best friend and guardian angel for life. She was also a lifetime educator of science at the historic Peabody School in Petersburg, Virginia, where no doubt she left a lasting impact on every student she came across. Miss Marshall was 93 years of age. We honor her life and her wishes for Alzheimer's, dementia, and breast cancer awareness, and we share our hearts and our love with Justin and the family. That's going to do it, folks. We're on a 23-and-a-half-hour break. We'll see you tomorrow around the horn.